Hello, this is Rachel with the Prattville Public Library, and today I'm going to be showing you all how to make pebble coasters. So as you can see, I'm beginning by arranging several pebbles and small rocks on a piece of felt. The felt that I have, you can use any regular crafting felt, but I'm using felt that has a pattern on one side so that both sides are somewhat decorative. And before I glue anything on, I just want to arrange all of my elements, all of my pebbles and marbles and so on, so that I can get an idea of how they'll all fit together. So for reference, I went ahead and created my example with the one that I laid out, and then I'm transferring them all onto another piece of felt so that I can put them all on successively and kind of make sure I stay within the template that I had figured out. For this activity, you'll definitely want to have a hot glue gun, felt, and pebbles. I also recommend having several small beads or seed beads. Marbles, the little glass decorative marbles, work really well in the place of pebbles as well if you have a hard time finding pebbles that are uniform or that will lay flat and glue nicely to your felt. And you'll also want scissors, if you have them, to cut off any excess glue and to make sure that your felt is in the shape you want it to be in. I went through about 3 sticks of hot glue in this process, so be sure you have plenty of hot glue with you in your hot glue gun. And as you can see, I had to adjust my strategy a little bit as I went on. Some of the outer rocks didn't fit quite the way on the second piece of felt that I thought they were going to. But you can adjust and kind of squish them in however works for you. For this particular example, I was just using whichever pebbles I had lying around. So this coaster is meant to be more decorative than most. If you make one with just the flat bottomed marbles, for example, the height will be a little bit more uniform and it'll be easier to lay your beverage cup on top of it without worries about the cup tipping over and spilling. So once I have glued, I'm fighting with my glue gun there. Once I have glued all of my larger elements, I'm gonna add some medium blue beads. I'm trying to stick with like blues and greens here because that's the color that's on the other side of my felt. And I'm sticking these beads in the spaces in between the rocks, just to hide as much of the felt as I can. Do be cautious when you're doing this step. You can burn yourself with the hot glue, so be cautious as you're working with the hot glue to protect your fingers. And I started with some of the middle gaps, but I'm also going around the edges and filling them in. Once I am finished with these larger beads, you basically want to start when you're making your coaster with the largest elements and then go down to the smallest elements. So after I'm finished adding these larger beads, I'm going to do a layer of small beads over some of the other recesses or areas where the felt is showing. And I'm also going to go over some of the areas that are a little bit lower with extra small beads to be able to make sure that the height once more is a little bit more uniform. If you're using very old hot glue, which I happened to be using, it can be beneficial to take a stick of the hot glue and rub it between your hands for a moment before you stick it in your glue gun. I noticed that my glue gun sticks were sticking together, and when I tried to install them in the gun to get them to work, at first, especially towards the beginning of the video, it was jamming up a lot because of that extra stickiness. So if you just rub them between your hands for a little while, you're able to get rid of that sticky film on the outside that causes the glue sticks to stick together, and the glue gun will function more smoothly and properly from there. As you can see, it's starting to accumulate some, I call them little spider webs, but little traces of glue gun glue all around. Those come off easily once they've dried, so feel free to ignore them while you're assembling. So that's how you make a pebble coaster with just a simple piece of felt and some pebbles or marbles and a hot glue gun.